Hello and welcome to Invisible Walls. We're trying to have an action-packed episode this week with a lot of people and a lot of topics. Sometimes people go on vacation, especially after E3, so there's not always so many people in the office. Sometimes it's a little slow. So sorry for some of the shorter episodes the past couple weeks.
And by short, you mean quite shit.
Short shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we were scrabbling for the last couple of weeks.
But, there was something to do on Friday after 4th of July other than
Masturbating.
look at fireworks or masturbate while you look at fireworks, erotic fireworks.
Wow.
I think that's my new job. I'm here with Brandon Jones.
Hi, everybody.
And Marcus Beer.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about GTA 5, because now we'd seen the trailers, blah, 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 but they've shown gameplay. Brandon got to wax poetically earlier this week.
I thought you were going to say whack off then.
Yeah, again. Jeez, let's just,
there was
focus here,
jism
guys.
everywhere.
Which would have been understandable. You are a fan of Rockstar.
I did need a new pair of pants, but I was not going to start there.
Well, where do you want to start? I mean, what was like the single driving factor that you're like, wow, I'm in?
You know what really surprised me was a lot of people in the office, Justin and Jelmo and Ian Hink, who said they weren't really, they don't care about story. They're like, I don't care about characters. They're like, I actually didn't like the leads that I was seeing so far from GTA 5. But they completely got turned around by that trailer. And that really surprised me because, like, I'm completely biased as far as the series is concerned. Like, ever since I played GTA 3, I've played every single game that's come out. So it's like, it's one of those franchises that I can't remove myself from. So when people complain about it, I'm just like, okay, cool. You're completely entitled to that opinion. I can do nothing but play everything that that comes out in the series. So to see them turn around just from one video really surprised me. And so I kind of pushed them for, really what it was.
Does it warm your heart?
It does. It makes me feel good. Well, just surprising. It's when stuff like that happens because people can be really stuck in their genres, because there's so many games to play. It's like, going outside your comfort zone for a game isn't always, it's hard to really get an impulse to do that. But I think it was just the mechanics of these three people and how all that stuff interacts, and of course online, which they're deliberately teasing us.
Did you hear about my game concept that I tweeted out yesterday or day before for GTA?
Please share.
All right, so I basically said, when they announce it, wouldn't it be awesome if they come out with a co-op mode that is basically us three taking on the individual parts, playing the game in its entirety through. And, I'm one character, you're the other, and that's it. We interact on certain missions, then we go off and have our own different things. So it's a full-on campaign mode, but with the same three guys
so it's a
dropping in, dropping out.
fully integrated co-op into the campaign.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting idea, and that's not outside of the realm of possibility either.
What they finally had with Gatoni was you could replay missions. You could actually go and be like, I love that one thing, and you could do it again and try to get a high score. Yeah, which surprised me. That was a pain when I was doing the retro that I couldn't go back and do that. But so even if they don't have something that's campaign wide, you could maybe go back and do a particular heist and specifically play it as co-op. Maybe when you finish the mission, you unlock the co-op, and then you can go back and do it again.
We saw that one clip of somebody flying the helicopter, somebody flying sniper, and somebody coming down. And that, to me, I just thought of like I said, three guys with their headsets on, talking. It's like, all right, I'm winching it down, and that would be the ultimate in co-op experience, and that would be something that maybe isn't feasible for Xbox 360 and PS3, but for the inevitable next generation version, that might be something that really, that's an evolving of gameplay that would just, I think, blow things wide open. And I think it's just been down to tech so far. People haven't been able to execute it.
Well, you mentioned next gen, and it's like, yeah, this is a current gen game, and it's
gen
looking really good.
Rockstar said it's the PS3 version, and that blew. I mean, I got to say, I'm up and down about Grand Theft Auto. It's like some days I'll blow hot, some days I'll blow cold. But when I watched this trailer, I was like, wow. And this was before they confirmed it was the PS3 version, and just the graphical.
And all the rumors had been coming out that they were doing a PC version and everything like that.
Yeah, I was just blown away by how good it looks, in itself, and that is no small feat. I mean, I think the other thing is we've still got to remember that the PS3 is the strongest of the current gen consoles. No disrespect to Xbox 360 owners, I'm not slagging that console off, but the cell capabilities always did have it pegged as the more powerful. And as we're coming to the end of that cycle, we're now seeing what is capable. What it's capable of. So yeah, I was actually very, very impressed. The fact that he gave us so much footage, the narration worked really well. It wasn't too off-putting. So yeah.
Can I ask just to kind of go back to last week or 2 weeks ago? Last week. Having just played a big slice of Saints Row, is there still room in your tiny miserly heart for both games?
Oh, there's definitely a room because, and I've had again these conversations on Twitter over the last couple of weeks, ever since the Saints the Saints Row preview came out, and I think Saints Row is over here. GTA is here in its own more sort of like serious, more semi-realistic world. Whereas you could call this the reservation, and off the reservation be Saints Row 4 in a good way. I mean, I read a preview where somebody said Volition have stolen everything and anything that hasn't been nailed down from any other video game, and just put it together unashamedly to make a fun, silly game. Daft as shit, and that's what Saints Row is. And there's definitely a gap there, especially as you have a 1 month break or a 3 week break between the two. And then GTA is it really does look like Rockstar's magnum opus. I mean, it really does look like the one where everything fits into place, because there's been some Vice City I liked some things of, GTA 3 I liked some things of. I didn't like San Andreas. And I think I'm not really in the minority. I think a lot of people had issues with.
It's a divisive game.
Yeah.
You either like it or you don't.
But this one's biggest analog is San Andreas. With
But I mean,
the multiple
yes,
cities,
But
the
it
woodland
also
areas.
it looks way more appealing to me than San Andreas, because it does look there seems to be more variety. I mean, I like GTA 4 a certain amount, but Nico bored me stupid as a protagonist. But I thought the variety you've got this time round, and just the sheer scope of it. I mean, it really is a sandbox.
That's a really good point, because I feel like Nico, he was a defined character, but he was still the everyman, right? He's like, hey, I'm a guy off the boat. Hey, what's going on? I have an accent. But now we have characters
my
that
life story, basically.
Right. The Marcus Beer
It was
story.
too close to
Grand
become
Theft
fun.
Auto. But now we have 3 characters that are very, very defined, very, very distinct. And I think, you know how, what was his name? CJ in San Andreas, he was defined, but then, you had the weight gaining thing, so it had that kind of role-playing element. Here, I think it's really smart. It's really smart to give us 3 defined characters and let you jump between them and present a story in that way. Where, yeah, you'll we've done polls, people tend to like this character more or that character more, but you're going to have fun with all of them. And I think overall it's going to be a stronger push for the game in a narrative way and in a gameplay way as well, when you kind of meld into those characters.
I'm excited about customizing them, because you can pick tattoos, and then if I'm Michael, and then I've been playing as Michael for the last 2 days, and it's like, oh, I should switch over to Trevor, do some Trevor missions, and Michael goes to pick up Trevor, and Trevor's like got that tattoo on his shoulder that I put on him, and like I wonder how clothing works if you put a character in an outfit. It's like, and then I switch to another character and then switch back. Is that character going to be wearing the same outfit? If not, are they only going to wear outfits based on what I've purchased for that character?
And if they are wearing the same outfit and you haven't been to them in a couple of days, is that outfit really dirty?
I would just love to go switch to Trevor, and he's literally in boxers, and it's like, why the hell are you in boxers, man? Or like,
What were you doing while I was away?
Completely unfair question because you haven't got to play it yet, but Red Dead's your favorite out of Rockstar's open world games?
Probably, yeah.
Do you think this one has a chance?
They definitely tease a little Red Dead, with the natural environments that hunt you, and it's funny. It was interesting to show the deer like, it's like I don't think that deer's gonna be hunting anybody. So I wonder what they mean by that, if they're bears and cougars or something like that.
Miguel's probably excited.
The cougars will be in the Beverly Hills section.
Oh,
thank you. Let's talk about customization, and I want to bring this up just as a curiosity, as a note. We've got 3 characters for the first time, and this is probably one of the failings in my view, and we've had this discussion several times about Rockstar games, is that you have character customization to a certain degree, but you're stuck playing these predefined characters. And I've got to say that Rockstar, they do play by their own rules. I am kind of surprised that they still haven't brought a female character into something like GTA 5, and that might be something that we'll see in downloadable content. But I think that GTA having the option of a female character, so we're not talking, we're talking about a game that a lot of women do actually play. And I think it would be great to show Rockstar's writing skills if they could create this, because I mean, the secondary characters in Red Dead, they're not exactly damsels in distress. They do have a lot of punch and kick about them.
Until you hog-tie them and put them on the train track.
On the railway tracks while twiddling your mustache. But I think that is something that I would like to see from Rockstar. And it's not just me being white knight pandering. I would like to see how they can cope with that and how they can write. Because I think if anybody can write an amazing, strong female character and put it into this world, Rockstar can. Because their writing is right up there with the best.
I think, the characters aren't original. That's the one kind of
Well, it's always like
slightly
tropey,
disappointing
right?
thing. You know, I guess Trevor out of the three of them is probably the most unusual as far as like leads, and he's, you know, you can really tell what they're going for with him. It's like he's the guy you switch to, and you don't care what you're doing, you know,
Does anyone still get kind of a Kanan Lynch sort of vibe from the game, or is that unfair?
Yeah, he kind of looks like Michael kind of looks
There's
like
a Kanan Lynch vibe,
yeah.
and then of course Kanan Lynch is so close to Heat, and then there's the Heat scenes and
Right.
stuff like that. Not that, you know, Kanan Lynch isn't the best game, but it had its merits. I don't know. Just wanted to throw that out there. But really quick, you guys saw that everyone's getting the blimp now. It's not just a pre-order incentive.
Oh, nice.
Like all the first edition. So that's cool. I like the idea of a blimp and submarines. But just to wrap it up, any one little thing from the trailer? You did the pop block as well. Is there any one little thing that you really want people to just focus on that they may have missed?
Well, online. I mean, it's so bad because we're going to be talking about this again some later in Visible Walls when they finally reveal all those details. But just thinking, the big thing that I took from that online shot was that not only you were looking at a lot of people doing different stuff, you were looking at a lot of people doing specific activities. So clearly, like, there were cops that were chasing somebody, there was a race going on, there were helicopters that were racing each other, and so I think in GTA 4 you would jump in and I would get together with some friends and everybody in that world was doing one mode. And I think now there's just going to be like a cap on a server, and then while you're there it's kind of like Forza Horizon where it's like you're just in the city, and if you want to do an activity that's different from you actually being in that environment with your friends.
That would be really cool.
And so you can jump in and then be like, I don't feel stressed to do anything. And if you're doing a race and I'm not in that race and I just feel like, shooting a rocket launcher at your car, oh well, you lost the race. Like I can't. I've lost sleep. Thinking about.
I think
all
that's
those
where we
options.
want to go, and I think that's one of the things that MMOs do tend to miss out on. I think if you can put that world and lock it off and have X amount of, even host your own server or whatever, and just have it called 420 Weedsville Jones.
Exactly. Special code.
But I mean that could be that's again this whole sandbox that people are getting. That's where I was going with that multiplayer idea. For me, I'm interested to see the non-main story stuff, how they planned that out, because obviously there were some little nods in there that your businesses legitimizing, are you not? I mean, this kind of Tony Soprano vibe that I would like to see how that works, because I mean it's always of interest to me, and I like playing these games where it's like, yeah, I'm going to buy that business or take over that business or start charging people and see if I can push the legitimate action and how that affects the story.
I would love if there was like a light Sim City or like ActRaiser level of kind of city management to the game. I think that'd be amazing.
Well, yeah,
buying
I
up
think
property and
managing
stuff like
your
that.
turf,
But not a full sim, but something
very, very
with cool
light
benefits that ties back into the main game. It'd be amazing.
But yeah, I think that whole trying to legitimize that would be
One thing I keep hearing that they haven't confirmed or even said anything about, but everyone's like, well, if there's this system and that system, what if you buy stock in one company and then rob that opposing company so your stock goes up, you sell out? Having those systems between, like, I'm not just buying this, a place, I might find out it's a crack den and I gotta,
What I always wanted is there's a house that you want to rob and it's being sold, and you have the real estate agent take you through so you can like map it out and then you go in there for the heist. But yeah, I mean, we could wish for stuff all day, but it's
So
we're not going to. That's not why we're here.
Haven't we just written Grand Theft Auto 6?
Yeah. I was
Let's
summoned
go-
for a
let's go fucking
3-hour
do it.
GTA
Yeah,
discussion.
seriously, Rockstar, we're all available. Give us a shitload of money. We'll come up with it for
Female
you.
protagonist.
Yeah.
Ready.
Okay, we kicked Ryan out of the studio because it's time to talk about Assassin's Creed Assassin's Creed Floor, Black Flag. Yes, and Megan's joined us in the Ryan seat.
Of course.
As we are talking Assassin's Creed, because obviously they released a video of everything we saw at E3, which was a quite tasty little demo.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, I was quite enamored with it. And I've got to say, I mean, my views on Assassin's Creed, I love the franchise, but Black Flag seems superfluous this year, or did seem superfluous. And then I sat through that E3 demonstration. And I was like, yeah, I can go for that now, and it'd be lovely. But I mean, I've talked about it before. How do you? Let's go with Megan first, because she is the assassin in training.
And I do play other games. I'm
You
just
do-
going to say that
well,
right
you
now.
do
I do
play-
play other games, but this is...
And watch Doctor Who.
Yes.
But all right. How do you feel coming out of E3?
Out of E3, my faith was restored completely. And it's also, I mean, we've been having this conversation where we just keep calling it Black Flag. We're not calling it Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. We're just calling it Black Flag. And the open world nature, this truly sandbox playground of, oh, well, I could go fight these guys, but I'll go over here. Oh, this is whaling. I'll come back for that. Oh, there's a thing. I'll go pick up. Oh, treasure map. Right. I'm going to go do that. And like some of the footage that they didn't show was the fact that while you were on that island to go find the treasure, it's like, oh, you found guys that were about to be lynched and you rescued them. So now they're on your crew. They're your buddies. And it's
Well, I like the way they haven't sealed it off so that it's now almost like an old school game where you have areas or more perhaps RPG-ish where there are areas you're not going to go into because you're going to get crucified because you're not really up to that level.
ready yet, yeah.
But they give you little plays. I mean, it's like, all right, well, there's a ship over here. Who's like out of your class. If you're feeling ballsy, you can go lob a couple of cannonballs at them. They'll chase you, and then you chase them. They go into the storm, which is the great equalizer. And you can actually perhaps take these down and take this ship over and loot them. And then, boom, all of a sudden you've jumped up a couple of levels without investing too much money or whatever. And, I mean, obviously coming off our Grand Theft Auto discussion, I mean, this is this feels like a truly sandbox Assassin's Creed. I'm definitely with you. I don't think it needs to be called 4. I mean, it is, Black Flag, fine.
It's the
pirates, yar.
Kenway generation. That's what Darby was saying. It's the generation. It's the progression of all of the family members. But people are saying, "Oh, I skipped 3," and it's like, well, now that we know that 4 is, Edward, it's like, okay, wait, play 4, and then go play 3, because then you're playing in the linear progression of the
Those
family.
ship battles will be so disappointing.
I know they
in 3,
will.
Though, afterwards.
They really will.
Yeah, clearly there's some systems they're trying to.
So, all right, Mr. Open World fan.
I just love. I mean, again, I'm so biased. Like, I was gonna get this game no matter what. I was gonna be excited about
Pirates.
it. Just be a pirates, man. Like, there's probably a broken record by this point, but they just managed to. You really feel the excitement that they feel, like they're almost probably more excited than I am about pirates, getting into and doing all this research. And one of the big things I was talking to Meg, like, I'm so nerdy about it. I'm like, can you go in the ship? That's the only thing that matters to me. Was you got a ship in Assassin's Creed 3? I couldn't go in it. I could go in the ship in the beginning with Kenway, but I couldn't go in this one. And I guess she.
I looked it up. At least confirmed that the captain's quarters is something you can go into, and that's how you control your fleet. Is there's going to be something in there that allows you to.
So yeah, so that's the one thing I'm curious about is how automatic things can get. So like if I'm in a battle, can I maybe like switch command over to someone else, or is the only steering the boat does done by you?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, Adewale, I think is how they pronounce the first mate, and who knows if maybe he can handle that. I don't know about I don't know. I would never do that in the middle of the battle. I would never be like, I'm out. I'm gonna go chill in my cabin. Like,
Well,
I don't know.
you-
I would never
or-
do
Put my feet up and drink some
Or
tea.
jump in the water and see if when a boat comes by, and then you can hook onto the enemy boat and sneak on while they're fighting your boat and you're not on it,
Yeah, I
because
don't
you put
know.
a second in command.
But I just
or if there's a mission like that's kind of half in the water and half where you like have to sack a town or something while you're actively leaving your ship, so it's not just loading screens.
Well, they
but like
showed
you
the-
said, really a wide open world where doing one activity can affect another thing. Arkham Origins, I'm kind of excited about the same thing, just how everything's going to cross over each other. So you almost have missions that kind of butt heads, or people in the environment that you meet.
We're on the cusp of, I think, a really interesting era with the open world games where, we are looking at this next generation of tech where things can be bigger and grander. But I think the fact that people are still pulling this off on current gen is phenomenally cool. I may also say that the hero being from Cardiff, Welsh pirates.
Yeah.
See, we don't just do things to sheep. But yes, I know. I look. I mean, I found that out after the fact. Let's go back to that whole management thing. So this is something we touched on in Grand Theft Auto. This idea of evolving the gameplay. So yeah, you do have the captain's cabin that's probably customizable, and you can keep your trophies and having your fleet. Because that's one of the things I did like about Assassin's Creed 3 was the homestead. And, before that, in Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood, again, where you had the city and, your revenue would come in, but it was very limited and you had to go back to get your money, almost like a Facebook game, or otherwise you wouldn't earn any more. That to me is that's an immersion level that really is pushing these open world games above and beyond. The idea of, yes, this is my fleet and you will go from X to Y, but not only that, I'm going to tell you this is how you react to certain attack levels that are way above you or way below you. I mean, given that, I think this is one of those ones where you can have it as light as you want, but if they give you that option to go even further and still make it easy to use, that's just going to be, you know, this is a whole new era.
Well, and like you said, with the being able to, the biggest thing is being able to see whether or not you can take that guy. And then it's not just like, oh, I can't, I'll just have to come back later. You can do that, but it's the fact, like you said, you can take them in to where it's shallower waters, where they might be beached, and then you have the upper ground, or you can take them into a storm. And it's, you know, I keep thinking about Fallout 3 after having seen the E3 demo, because I know I'm going to have that same problem now with this game that I did when Fallout 3 first came out. It's like, wait, I can do whatever I want. I can start this mission, but then I could be bored with it and go do this other thing. And I can go over here and I'm looting this. Oh, there's an island. Oh, I can go swimming. Oh, I could go. It's like, I will, and, you know, the thing in the trailer or the gameplay they just released, which is like, oh, let's just look at how big this map is. At E3, they had it out on tablets that were below the screen, and that's where the second screen comes in. You can have that map up all the time. And in our demo, I'm assuming you guys too, they were like, oh, we're going to this mine ruin, and like, oh, let me just press that button.
Yeah.
It shows up in your game, and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, it was pretty immense. And we haven't even talked about some of the multiplayer stuff, because we're going to wrap it up now, because I think we will talk more about this in the coming weeks. I think that I like the time. I love the time frame for Assassin's Creed 3. I love that. I love that whole era, and it was such a good change. This one, I'm still excited. I'm still very excited for, and I want to play. Doesn't need to be 4, but you know, I'm going to throw this out there, because I think, you know, we're all fans. We're all going to get it day one. Yep. Does Assassin's Creed need to take a break after this? A 2-year break, you know, an 18-month, 2-year break. Let's go to 2015 for the next Assassin's Creed game.
I mean, I figured they needed a break after Revelations before 3, but...
Well, you need another Desmond. They need something else to really root and be like, this is the new era of Assassin's Creed. Like, for this one, they kind of threw together a story of why you're doing it, and it's like, well, is that going to extend to the next game? They need something to... It's interesting, because, like, the one series ended, and now they have this game kind of in between stories. I think they need something new, a new franchise for the next gen, like a new way to look at Assassin's Creed. Maybe that's not Assassin's Creed 5. Maybe they start over. I don't know.
Assassin's Creed 5 in 2015, Victorian London. I'm calling it now.
Ninjas.
Well,
with ninjas.
We'll see. It depends on where they end 4, story-wise, considering how much is already known about what happens afterwards with Edward.
Mike Damiani, nice to have you here.
Good to be here.
You make me smile a lot lately.
I'm not smiling
that's good.
today, though.
That's normally
you finished
only
book,
when he's got
you
pants
finished
on.
book 5 of Game of Thrones.
A Dance with Dragons, not happy.
Yeah, it's a slow tango. Well, speaking of death and despair, you played the Walking Dead DLC 400 Days.
Yep.
And it's a pretty interesting little piece of software. You generally liked it. What did you think about the it's weird, because I felt like with the first game, you played Walking Dead, right?
I played Walking Dead. I loved Walking Dead.
I didn't feel like I had to replay the game at all. And I know, like, the developers, the designers on the game have talked about it. A lot of people I've talked to. I didn't feel like I had to replay it. I'm really glad I had my own story. I thought those statistic screens kind of gave it that just enough of that gamey edge where I could be like, oh, I did 95% of the same thing as everyone else, but here I did 5%. But now we have a little slice that's all about replaying, even though it's the same kind of tropes and mechanics and everything. And you think it worked? I mean, you went through it a couple times.
Yeah, I think it only works because of the short nature of 400 Days. I felt personally more invested in the cast in Season 1 with Lee and Clementine and all the other survivors. So this DLC felt like it was catering to that desire to want to replay and see what the other outcomes would have been if you had made a different decision. And I think just naturally how short the DLC to me felt a little shorter than one chapter of Season 1. Mm-hmm. But then 400 Days, for the people who don't know, is broken into 5 character stories. And each of those character stories varies in length. Like the first one, I was actually surprised because at E3 they showed us the Vince chapter. But at the time, I didn't know that was all of it. I thought that was just the introduction to Vince's chapter. And I thought each character was getting its own episode. I guess kind of misunderstood that at first at E3.
Yeah, I think the messaging was confusing.
But they played to the whole thing to the end of that scene. I won't say it to spoil it for anyone who hasn't played it yet. But then when we got the game in and I started playing it for review, and I got to that point and it ended right there, that was it. and it took like maybe 10 minutes to get through that part.
It's playable in any order, right?
Yes, so
That's really, and they influence each other
there
to a
are
degree?
there are some very subtle small things that are directly impacted. I think for the average person you might not notice it. So it's nothing earth-shattering.
But you'd have to do a second playthrough to really notice? Or can you notice on your first playthrough?
I don't think you will notice on your first playthrough. I mean, I think it's impossible to know on your first playthrough unless you've read one of the guides that's already been written up on it.
Okay.
But the thing is, they like the same thing with the rewind function. If you play like character A, B, and C, if you want to replay character A, if you play that order A, B, C, you will lose all the progress you did in character B and C if you replay A. But if you replay character C's story and you did that last, it will keep all your choices from A and B. I know some people are having some issue with their saves actually because of the short nature. So many people are going back and actually replaying these so often to get the different outcomes that. Especially, I guess on the Steam version at least, there were some people having issues with their save again.
So can I ask, with having 5 different little characters and 5 little chapters, is there like a definite ending to the story?
Yeah, yes, there's a definite ending.
No matter who you play last?
It does not matter. It does not matter what order you play. There is a conclusion.
Oh, separate?
Yeah, it's tied to the story. So you see there's a hand pulling the post-it notes with the people's photos and messages, and you see the payoff to that. You see who's pulling them off.
So it's kind of a frame story?
Yes.
Okay.
And then that person goes to do something after that, and then there's a definitive conclusion. And that's when you see the payoff. Like, I don't know if it's just one big choice within each chapter or the series of choices you make within each character's chapter, but ultimately each of the 5 characters makes a final decision at the end. And then you see how that pays off. And I'm assuming that's going to play into season 2. What those characters each do individually.
So, I mean, I hate to ask like the most obvious questions, but if you like The Walking Dead and you loved The Walking Dead season 1, is this a must get?
If you loved season 1,
Yeah.
I think you're going to want to play this because you want season 2. I don't think it satisfies that craving completely. It was enjoyable, and because of its short nature, it's fun to. It's for those people like me. I was with you. I did not go back and replay season 1. I wanted to stick with my decisions and live with them and see how they played out in season 2. This is for the curious, to satisfy your curiosity. I want to know how all these different decisions would play out. So I don't want to call it like a sandbox, but it's kind of like a toy box where you can like mess around with everything.
Well, I hear it's like, you know, like when Pulp Fiction came out?
Yes.
And people, like, it seems like kind of rote now, but people were
The
really
non-linear-
interested. Like, you know, people were interested in that circular narrative and stuff like that. And this game is kind of, you know, obviously it's selling itself on its writing. It's putting itself up to the original game. But do you feel like you really have to kind of play it twice and read into the gimmick to actually get the most out of it?
You get more.
Which is a weird kind of story-driven game.
You don't
It's kinda
have
weird.
to, but you do definitely get more out of it if you play it a second time. I made different decisions the second time. I actually saw Easter eggs or references to the first game that I didn't see the first time. For those people who played the chapter with the young boy, when the truck's approaching, you can either stand your ground or you can duck for cover. I chose to stand my ground the first time. If you duck for cover, you will get a surprise, and it's directly attributed to a decision you made in season 1. Okay. That what you will see when you take cover, and that was kind of cool to see something like that. But also constructing the narrative, kind of like Pulp Fiction. You realize how these events are like people are just passing by and missing each other, or they're all going. It's like this pit stop that this gas station pit stop type place that everyone is kind of like honing in on, or homing in on, sorry. And it's you keep seeing these people come back to this place, and you can sort of piece together. I mean, it tells you how many days into the apocalypse or after the zombie outbreak that it is, but you can start to construct a narrative better by playing it more than once. So for example, there's a part where Vince on the prison bus, you see that chapter, and then later on you're running away from something and you run across that highway where you see Vince's bus and you see maybe the resolution to something in that part. So
Okay.
there are clues like that.
Well, let me like you like The Walking Dead. Are you gonna pick this up? It's like an hour,
Yeah.
but you can replay it, but it's also $5. It's kind of an interesting question about replayability and
Yeah,
DLC and perceived value.
I think perceived value kicks into it because I pre-bought the entire first season and I got it for like $15,
Right.
which is, that's a good sort of like 15, 20 hours worth of playable there. So to pay $5 for an hour, Sounds,
Even though it's a kind of a story-driven thing, and there is
Yeah,
weird replayability, it just seems like such a weird little nugget of a game in this day and age right now
yeah, it seems honestly like
in the world of apps.
when I first heard about it, before I really knew much about it, I thought, oh great, this is cool. It's a little bridger between season 1 and season 2, and the more I've heard about it, the more it just seems like a cash grab. And it's just like, you know what, we're going to take those $5 from you and just.
I think they wanted to do the story idea. I don't think they're particularly like a greedy thing,
Well, no,
'cause
I mean,
it is a very design. It's very designed.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not saying Telltale. It was perhaps Telltale's 100% decision, but I mean, if they were,
but should it have been $1 or something like that?
should it? Yeah, should it have been?
Or a pre-order incentive or something
Yeah,
like
I
that?
mean, it was something for season 2. I mean, would it be announce season 2, pre-buy season 2 for $15-$20, whatever, and then get it. I mean, this is just personal opinion. I mean, it's not something that I'm going to get really excited for. I mean, it's one of those things.
But it comes up though. I
Yeah.
mean, it goes beyond you.
I mean, I'm kind of worried about The Walking Dead anyway, because I mean, I liked season 1. I hated season 2, the
Of the
TV show,
Oh,
and I'm interested to see where Telltale take this, for season 2, and I'll support it and give it a try. I just don't want it jumping the shark, because I mean, success changes stuff, and what was a bold experiment
Well,
18 months ago could be, just
well,
again.
speaking of bold experiments and things, after E3, people were saying that they're going to remake Metal Gear Solid 1, and they said it was a mistranslation. People put in bids, Fox Engine, all that stuff. And it got me thinking, and that's one reason I have you on, Mike, because you're a huge Metal Gear fan. We already had Twin Snakes, right? And that put in all the Metal Gear Solid 2 stuff. What would I mean, a little speculation time, but like, what would you really want from a Metal Gear Solid 1 remake at this point? I mean, I love the game, and obviously the way games age and stuff, and the reverse
Yeah.
compatibility, but it still seems like such a weird idea just to kind of get a graphical update. I like the idea of these HD remakes and stuff versus like a reimagining, like the Resident Evil 1 remake. There's a big difference between the two, but I'm just curious to get like your opinion too, Marcus. Like,
yeah, I think
what would make you get a Metal Gear Solid 1 remake?
I would say, I mean, obviously the obvious reason is what you just said, like the HD graphics. Like Twin Snakes was still made during the GameCube era.
Mm-hmm. But if they had up-res that like they've done with like
Yes.
Silent Hill
Well,
or
the problem,
Shadow of the Colossus.
that kind of leads into the real, probably one of the more solid reasons is that game is, I think it's tangled up with Nintendo and Silicon Knights. So putting that game out on other platforms is either impossible or a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
So the leading theory is, like, we just saw the Metal Gear Solid HD collection come out, and then the Legacy collection came out, and it's only including the PlayStation 1 original version of Metal Gear Solid. This is like the one game in the Solid series that doesn't look like, it's drastically different from the rest of them. Even Metal Gear Solid 2, which is lacking some of the more advanced CQ close quarter combat stuff, is still falls more in line with like the rest of the series in terms of like the presentation. Metal Gear Solid 1 is still a little bit dated, so going back, and they would need to like redo that game completely from scratch, like they did for Twin Snakes, to redo it in HD, and they can't use the Twin Snakes engine, whatever they use with Silicon Knights, so they need to do it in that's the theory, that you put it in Fox Engine, it'll look like a game for current or next gen systems.
And it is such
then-
a story-driven game
Yeah.
that maybe, like you can go back and watch, Escape from New York and like love it, or like I don't know, I'm thinking of John Carpenter films, but but here's like a game that is very story-driven. It's not completely batshit crazy. That didn't really kick in until 2. I don't know. It isn't kind of an interesting idea. Like maybe an HD remake is a good way to keep some of these kind of story-driven things alive, especially with reverse compatibility going the way of the Dodo. Do you have Bleemcast? Do you remember Bleemcast?
Oh man, Bleemcast. I got in trouble for Bleemcast once in school for just having a file associated with Bleemcast on my computer. I got like banned from a week from using computers at school. Funny story, but no, you kind of lead to a good point about story. Twin Snakes, they actually changed some of the voice work in the game. They redid lines, they changed the music, they actually got a new voice
Changed
actor.
accents, right?
For one of the characters, they changed the accents. They also changed the voice actor for Gray Fox, I believe, if I'm correct. But that leads to an interesting thing with the whole David Hayter thing. Would they be able to do it if they're going to do lines? Would it be Keith Sutherland or a new voice actor for Snake for doing those lines if they redid Metal Gear Solid 1? And how would the fans react to that? I mean, whatever is going on with like Metal Gear Solid 5, that's a new game. It's a different direction. But messing with a sacred cow and the voice work of David Hayter, like people think Metal Gear Solid 1 still his best version of Snake. I think that would like upset people, so they might have to like tiptoe around eggshells for that if they're going to redo that game.
Marcus, do you ever buy HD remakes or anything?
No.
There's always so many new games. But do you watch old movies sometimes?
No, I watch old movies. And
No, it's kind of a weird space again, right?
Well, I mean, again, I think and this is the other thing is, I mean, I am a PC gamer and I do have a PC and I do have access to goodoldgames.com. And, a lot of the old games that I pick up on Steam and GOG, they do satisfy any cravings I have. I mean, there are a few old games I would go back and play if I had the backwards compatibility. And I think PlayStation, with their announcement of the Go Anywhere streaming that's coming next year, that is going to be interesting, especially if they expand that library beyond PS3. I think that will, satisfy a lot of people. One of the things I've found comparing movies to games, I mean, you look at the games and they do age so quickly.
Oh, totally.
And it's not just the gameplay, the graphics. It is the gameplay. I mean, the gameplay does age, and not in a good way a lot of the time. Because
especially with 3D games.
Well, you look at the capabilities of a console 12 years ago, 13, 14 years ago with a PS1, and then you look at the capabilities now, and they do get shown up. And I think that's there's a great line that I think is in The Lion King, and it's like leave you behind in the past. I mean, nostalgia is a great thing until you revisit it. I mean,
That's what Let's Plays are for, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of people who perhaps go back, haven't played a game in 15 years, and are like, wow.
Or you make interns play the original Tomb Raider, and they wonder how this sold millions of copies.
But again, yeah, I mean, because again, it's also these games are an example. They're an example of the time. They're an example of the technology. We didn't have iPhones. We didn't have iPads. We didn't have these Vitas and 3DSs. So we didn't have this capability. And now you're looking at, all right, so we're going to sell a game to you for $20, and it's an up-res version of a 15-year-old game, which perhaps doesn't have that functionality that you come to expect. So if they're going to do a HD remake of Metal Gear, just like if they're going to do a HD remake of Resident Evil, I would say, you know what? Keep the basic story for both. Improve the gameplay. Improve the graphics. Improve the audio. I also think that you are right that if Kiefer Sutherland was to revoice that, and they couldn't get David Hayter back for it, I think there would be blood in the streets of El Segundo, which is where Konami are based.
Coming to your home in 2013, only on Xbox One.
We are joined by Patrick Morales to talk
Hello.
Killer Instinct. Patrick and Chris, who's behind the camera right now, went down to Irvine, California, a very dangerous place, to talk to
of SoCal.
Double Helix, right?
That's right.
To take a look at Killer Instinct. And just a little bit of background. You were really down when they first premiered, and then you got hands-on with it, and you're like, this is actually pretty decent.
No, I'll be honest. Like, I was completely there with 80% of the people that saw the trailer at E3 for the first time. I didn't think it looked good at all. I thought that, wow, really, is this all that Microsoft had to offer for the next KI? But I approached it with an open mind, and when I saw the game at E3, I thought, hell, I should probably just try this out for a few minutes, and it surprised me. I thought it was a really good game, and especially more so after spending the time to talk with these guys developing it. They have their heart in the right place, and I think it's a legit good game.
Well, I was very harsh on it when I first saw it. I mean, debacle of the unveiling aside, which was a monumental cock up.
They had nothing to do with that, though.
No, they didn't. They didn't. I mean, that was just Microsoft again ticking another box. But when we found out that it's free to play and it comes with one character, and then you have to buy all the other characters, and I was particularly harsh on it. And I think you and I did have a couple of conversations though. That first sort of like, oh my God, what have they done? So I'm interested to see the turnaround, because I want to play a full Killer Instinct game. I want to have all the characters from the get-go. I want to go and play and explore and have it with gorgeous next-gen graphics. And maybe it's this snobbery, and reaction to the phrase free-to-play that's kind of freaking me out. I mean, does it feel like a free-to-play game?
Well, the number one thing about it is that no, it doesn't. By free-to-play, it does not have that kind of the feeling of cheapness to it. That's not the case at all. And in terms of the business model, I think they're actually approaching it a couple ways. One, you can download one character for free and just to try out the game, see if you like it. But I believe they're also bringing out this full edition for the $50 where, you know, you can have everything in just one go. So you can have that option to you. And I think from there, from what they're messaging, they're planning on doing it in kind of like little installments where, yeah, you know, if you like this character, you could have that with the story mode attached to it. You know, or, you know, you can have that character. It's all about kind of pick and choose a la carte. So I think they're still playing around with the model, but so far that's what they seem to be pushing forward. It's just not messaged very clearly.
You know, and your little vid doc kind of got kind of the heart and soul of the developers, and people should totally watch it. But I'm just curious, you got to actually go back down and see some new stuff, and you know, we saw the blood. Can we let's talk about the game itself? You know,
Sure.
I mean, what about the new stuff? Is it getting you even more hyped, or is it kind of just pulling the line, or what?
Okay, so there's no way to temper this, but let me just say that they're doing something that has never been done in Killer Instinct before, and I feel like it is
Unicorns.
Yeah. How'd you know?
Yeah.
But it seems cliche for me to say, but it really is a game changer. I feel like
Combo breaker.
Kind of. You'll see. But it basically flips everything you know about the series on its head. It's going to be really exciting to see what people do with it at EVO. They're bringing the game there for people to try it for the first time. And I think, you know, that's really going to be the litmus test for if people are going to accept this game, because the only people that have gotten to try it out so far have been the folks at E3, you know, just press and, you know, media folk. But the people that actually play these games, you know, the FGC crowd, you know, everyone that goes to tournaments, like, they are going to try this game out for the first time at EVO. And I think that's when we're really going to see, you know, if this game is worth its salt.
And you got to see a new character, right?
Semi-new. Glacius has been announced in the intro trailer at E3. We have not gotten to see him in gameplay though, which we are going to show you guys for the first time. We have that as an exclusive coming up, so stay tuned.
Hopefully by the time this is up.
Yeah, we'll see.
Were you impressed with the character, or?
I think so, yeah. And you know, for people that are saying that, yeah, this game could have been on the 360, like just looking at the graphics, the new stage that we have for you guys will prove otherwise.
Is that the one that was kind of teased in
it's
the
a new
doc?
one.
Oh, wow,
It's
cool.
a new one.
Yeah, there's definitely some impressive effects, but it's still kind of weird to think about, like, these particle effects could not be currently done. But I mean,
there's a lot of stuff going on.
I can't wait to see it.
One thing that I can tell you, you even see a little bit of this in the E3 trailer, but Glacius, who is that, you know, ice monster, like humanoid guy, so every time he does a move, he'll like kind of project a big icicle out of his arm, and then that icicle will shatter into little bits and like fall at his feet, and that happens with all of his moves. So you get to see this kind of like neat array of like stuff happening.
And you kind of bathed yourself in all things KI over the last week or so.
Sure.
Does it feel like a Killer Instinct game?
Yes.
Does it feel more like Killer Instinct 1 than 2 though? Or
see, I don't know. Like I don't know why people hate 2 so much. It definitely did a lot of things differently mechanically, and even the characters were weird, like Maya, Kim Woo, Tusk. Like who are those guys? Like you know, like where are my weird like raptor and skeleton and like Cyclops monsters, right? But I feel like, you know, going back to your question, it does feel like KI.
That's good.
They in terms of gameplay, I think it has that outrageous, over the top quality that makes it fun. The fact that it's easy to get into. You know, easy to look cool, but also has a high skill ceiling, makes it a really appropriate model for that so-called, you know, free-to-play thing. Just because I feel like this could be a lot of people's first fighting games.
And then the real question.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt.
Sure, go on.
Are you gonna get an Xbox One?
To be continued.
You know, he hasn't called it X-Bone at all through the show.
That's true.
That's because I refuse to acknowledge it to begin
say
with.
X1.
No, but you know what? I feel like this is actually, if I did get an Xbox One, X-Bone, whatever, this would be the game for me, honestly.
That's a pretty big endorsement.
Yeah.
And really quick, I just want to throw in my 2 cents. I know people were kind of upset about its business model, just to go back a little bit. Yeah. But it is interesting for a lot of people who competitively only play like 1 or 2 characters. Yeah. I still think it's a really weird. Like, it's a really weird business model. I'm not going to deny that. And I'm glad that you can just get it all. But it is kind of interesting for people that are like I only play you play people at Street Fighter online, and you see the same guy just playing the same dude over and over again.
Well, I mean, my biggest worry was when they announced the free to play was that I looked at that demo on the stage, and I got to say the demo didn't look graphically,
It's
right
like an
up
older build.
where you'd expect it to be, especially for a next generation console. So that was my concern, that it was being treated like let's push this out there. With the fact that you can get the $50 version, the free-to-play version then becomes more interesting, because then it's basically a friggin' demo, which is great, and then you can go and upgrade and get everything else. So, if Patrick's excited, I am now moving cautiously into the positive. My finger is still hovering above the cancel button for my Xbox One pre-order, just in case, though.
Well, it's always good to just see more 2D fighting games. I think after the big drought for so long, they brought back with like Street Fighter 4 kind of re-brought back. I'm just glad to keep seeing 2D fighting games come out.
For sure. And, like for me, the biggest takeaway from that whole experience was that these guys really are listening. They do not have, any pretense about, who they are as a developer or, their track record. Or, if they are the absolute experts at KI, they are actively listening to the community. I mean, the coolest thing that I heard from the head of the studio was that all of the messages that are posted at their forums about KI go to their inbox, and they're they're put into prioritized tickets for the team. Like, he'll pick out the ones that are actually legit. Yeah, Jira. Office humor. And like the posts actually become prioritized tickets, and they go to the development team so that they could look at them. And for people that think that's bullshit, look at the footage that we showed in the doc. People complained about that there was no blood. There was tons of blood in the B-roll that we got. People were complaining about the certain looks of it, or the fact that they had the combo missing from the audio. Like, they added that in, and people were actually impressed with that. You see a ton of posts in the forums about the dog, taking screenshots like, oh, hey, did you notice it? Did you notice that? Like, things are changing very quickly in this development cycle, and rightfully so. Like, this game is supposed to be a launch title, so
They'll hit it.
Things are moving very quickly, but they are listening, which I really like a lot.
And finally, so that's the end of the episode. But I think, Marcus, you did want to say a couple words.
I figure, this has been covered. There was a bonus round special that went up a couple of nights ago. I mean, and I am talking about it on Annoyed Gamer tomorrow. But we in the gaming community did lose somebody who was an outstanding member and advocate and proponent of the community in Ryan Davis last week. It was obviously his death was announced on Monday. He was only 34, and I know you'd done some work with him around at G4
Back at Cinematech. We did some
Cinematech.
episodes,
They did a whole
bunch of
week.
events. He was a really cool guy, really nice guy.
Yeah, and I mean, look, did you know him?
I haven't, unfortunately.
Okay, and I just want to throw out there to the the IW audience. I mean, we do our little video podcast, and then there's the Bombcast. They've done a special one this week, and I think we're all just in the same boat. We're stunned. This guy was 34, such a great guy, and if you want to get more info, Jeremy Hoffman joins me on Annoyed Gamer tomorrow, and we do talk and reminisce, and it's something that needs to be done. I mean, we're still a young industry, but we're also a very small industry. A lot of people are focused here and in San Francisco, and we have hung out together, and we've seen each other at more than E3. And when somebody goes that young, it's really quite stunning. Not a good way.
Yeah, so enjoy the episode, but just think about your life, think about stuff.
And
enjoy games,
and think about your friends. And I mean, this coming from the grumpiest man on all of GameTrailers. Think about your friends. Just say, hey, I really love you, or if you don't want to say I really love you, it's like, I appreciate you. You're a good dude or a good girl or whatever. And just every now and then, take that break.
Totally. Thanks for watching, guys.
See this and other GT shows and game reviews on the GT Originals iOS app, available now on the App Store.